We're live now, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the January meeting of the Governance and Audit Committee of Powys County Council. First of all, can I wish everybody in the meeting a happy new year, and let's hope it's peaceful and relatively successful for all of us. There are some people here I need to welcome, I believe. We've got from an item on from Audit Wales, we've got Gareth Jones, Emma Woodcock, and Eurus Lake, who will be presenting a report on work programme timetable. From Newtown High School, we've got some guests. Rob Harper, I believe, who is Chair of Governors. Natalie Harvard, who's head teacher, and also Richard Jones and Sarah Quibble from the education section here. Many thanks to you all for coming, and we'll get cracking with apologies.
Yes, Chair. We've received apologies from Committee Chair Lynn Hamilton, Cabinet Member County Councillor Sandra Davis, and Monitoring Officer Clive Pinney.
Yes, thank you. I should have introduced myself, shouldn't I? My name is John Broadcombe. I'm Deputy Chair of the Governance and Audit Committee and standing in for Lynn, who's away abroad at the moment. Do we have any declarations of interest? No, that's good. Minutes. We have minutes from, excuse me, I'm just scrolling down to the page. We have minutes from the meeting that was held on the 21st of November. I'll run through them for page by page for any comments on accuracy or any other matters. Page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, and the last page. Any comments on the minutes? Councillor Peat.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If I could just take you back to page 6.
Yes, indeed.
Second point down in the box of issues raised by committee was waiting for an outstanding response regarding the annual review of the whistleblowing policy. We do in the responses received have in bold action, but we don't have any action filled in. I think it was agreed that there would be an annual review of the whistleblowing policy by this committee, and that it would be added to our forward work programme. But it's just looking for, I think it's the monitoring officer there to provide clarification.
Right. Do we have any response from the officers? Are any officers present at the meeting as we were waiting for one?
Thank you, Chair. It's Debbie Jones on behalf of
Oh,
the.
sorry, Debbie. Didn't see you there.
Hi, Chair. I understand that a review has taken place. I'm not sure it's on the forward work programme, but happy to take that action away. And it's due a review every 3 years, but I understand a recent review has taken place. So I understand that could just be put on the forward work programme, Chair, if you're content.
I'm happy. Are you okay on that, Pete?
Yeah, thanks, Jed. Sorry, things are a bit slow going over
Yeah.
the keyboard. Sorry. Yes, I think there's the bit like Debbie and the team at a high level do a 3 yearly review of the policy, but this committee via the working group also wanted to do its own annual review of it. So I think there's two pieces of work there. And I guess as well as that review by Debbie, if we could just add it onto our forward work program.
Yeah. Okay. You
Thank
happy
you.
with that, Debbie? You're mute at the moment.
Thank you, Chair. Happy with
Yeah,
that.
you are. Okay. Councillor Chris, you have a question,
Yes,
comment.
thank you, Chair. It was on page 10. I certainly welcome the management response in relation to some of the mandatory training, because I think at the time there was quite a bit of concern about it, but some of the figures have increased, so that's welcome. So congratulations and doing that, but we just need to keep the momentum going with it. There was an action though, regarding on page 10, which was to do with school governing bodies having mandatory training as an agenda item on a regular basis. I just wanted to make sure whether that has happened.
Can any officer comment on that? Yes, Sarah.
Apologies, Chair. Yes, certainly it's part of the head teacher report, but there's certainly a focus on mandatory training at the moment, and the explicit request to make sure it's a discussion is also going to be made, as well as that ongoing head teacher report that is presented at every governing body meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy with that, Chris?
Yep,
Good.
as long as
Okay.
it's being picked up on.
Can I then take it the minutes are acceptable?
Sure.
And no objections, so that is the case. Right, the next item then is the work programme. Which is up by the agenda. We've got the items there for this meeting and for the next meeting on the 6th of March. I note that several items, 4 items in fact, have been 5 items have been postponed. Can I have some comments as for the reasons of that, just for the record, please? First of all, the Audit Wales formal approval of the 26-27 audit plan. Also, the All Wales Capital Report, please. And somebody? Emma?
Oh, hi, Chair. In terms of, I'll take the first one if you want, in terms of
Yes,
the audit
please.
plan, and then Gareth will take the next one. So the reason the audit plan hasn't come to the committee is because we obviously need a period of time to be able to do some audit planning work, which means having a look at systems, having a look at minutes, etc., to work out what risks we think the council are facing in terms of the accounts that will be coming to the committee at a later date. So obviously it's been delayed because we haven't had chance to complete that planning. I think it's due to come on in March meeting,
It is.
and we should have done enough planning work then to be able to provide a meaningful audit plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I just ask, if I know that the systems are changing here in the finance area for in the council in this year, and there's considerable amount of work on the ledgers going on. Is that interfering with the planning, or is that going to feature in any way in the planning for the audit?
It will feature in the planning simply because access to the old system is going to be quite difficult to achieve from the 19th of July. So we're going to need to do some things early. But in terms of the actual transition to the new system, because it doesn't actually start in earnest until the 1st of April, it actually won't affect as such the 26 accounts that we'll be auditing. It will affect the 26, 27, but we are trying to do some preparation work in advance of the 26, 27 accounts because we do have to check that all the information has been moved over accurately.
Thank you very much indeed. Gareth, you're going to take the second one?
Certainly, Chair. I can confirm the capital planning report is a national report, Chair. So it's not a Paris-specific report, it's a national report. There's been some delays in finalising that report. I've been informed this morning that the report will be published nationally at the end of January. And if there are recommendations for all councils, obviously we will work with the officers to help them with their management response form so that they can develop that so that we can bring the report and the management response form to the same committee meeting. Whether or not that will be feasible by the 6th of March, given that the report will be published at the end of January, that will be something that we will discuss with officers, and it may be that we might bring it to a meeting after March to allow the committee to see both the report and Paris County Council's response to the recommendations.
Okay, thank you very much. Gareth Hall, as chair of our subcommittee on this item, have you got any comment there?
Well, it is what it is, and it's reassuring that the thing is ongoing.
Yeah.
And we'll receive the two papers together. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Okay.
The management response and the document.
Thank you, Gareth. Any other comments? No, I don't see any. Ian Halstead, item 4, swap deep dive into root causes of overdue actions.
Thank you, Chair. Just to give you an update, really, we've produced the report on the root cause actions. We produced that before Christmas, but it's going through the governance process, which I'm sure Mary can tell you about now, actually.
That's okay, Chair. Yeah, we have received the report, but it needs to go through our internal governance process, as Ian said. It's on the work programme for CLT, so it should be through all of that by the 6th of March, and so it should be available to the committee then.
Let's hope so. Okay, many thanks to you. The the risk deep dive, we know about that one, and the value for money report. Has anybody got any comment on that one? I know the chair commented on that last time, that she said that she'd rather it was set out for March if we couldn't possibly get it through in time for this month. So perhaps that was dealt with in the previous minutes. If everybody's agreeable, then we'll move on. The next item is Audit Wales Q3 work programme and timetable report. Gareth, are you presenting that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just for members' information, the Welsh language version is shown on pages 21 to 26, with the English language version from 27 to 32. I don't propose to go through it in detail. As you'll be aware, we have changed to providing this update to a 6-monthly update on the progress of our financial and performance audit programme here in Paris County Council. This update provides the position of all projects as at the end of December 2025. The next update will come to the committee at the end of June 2026. Usually we include the information from both Estyn and Care Inspectorate Wales, but to meet the committee paper deadlines, we agreed with the chair just to provide the Audit Wales update at this point, and we will circulate the full update in the coming weeks to the committee. Just to confirm, from a financial audit perspective, the team are working through several grant claims at the moment, and those will be completed shortly once information has been received. The update on the performance audit projects is detailed in the report. We are on track with those reports against our internal timescales, and we are working towards finalising those reports with the committee that we are drafting or we have submitted to the council. And Chair, I just want to check that the proposal to circulate the full update is acceptable to you and the committee members, and I'm happy to take any questions that members will have.
It's certainly acceptable to me. Committee members, any questions, any comments? I don't see any hands. It doesn't mean to say there aren't any, but Councillor Chris.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the report. I was just looking at, you mentioned that there was still some grant and returns information coming through, and there's 2 cases that are highlighted as being outstanding, but these are for 23-24. Any real significance regarding those or implications for the authority?
I'll hand over to Emma Woodcock to answer that.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Gareth. No, to be honest, we're in exactly the same position as we were the last time we spoke, in that when we deliver the sort of audit certificate, if you like, for 24-25, we want to do it at the same time, 23-24 at the same time as 24-25. So that's why it's a bit delayed. But in terms of, as you'll remember, we do a materiality basis when we do the accounts. And in terms of that materiality basis, these grants aren't to that level, so they wouldn't affect the audit opinion.
That's fine. I'm not on there. Thank you.
Gareth Hall.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I see in the end update column, the status column, that it says on a number of them that they're waiting the management response form, and Gareth said in a reply to an earlier question about Audit Wales working through this form with the council. So as a sort of general point, could he just outline the process? The report is sent to the council. Do they send a management response form? And then there's an interaction between you and the council to come up with an agreed document?
Thank you, Gareth, for the question. So the management response form we issue with the final report. When the report has been cleared for fact accuracy, we issue the management response form to the council, and it is the council's actions to respond to the recommendations. What we have to provide to you as a committee is a view as to whether or not the council has properly considered the recommendations, and it is that we undertake with the council at the point that we receive the management response form. So we will look at the responses and give a view as to whether or not the council has properly considered the findings and the recommendations, and we will give you that view. We will obviously correspond with the officers and the council in terms of the proper consideration, and that's a due process that we have to do. And I can confirm to you that over the last year, all of the council's responses have demonstrated proper consideration of the audit findings and the recommendations.
Yeah. It's just that, thanks for that clarification, Gareth. But seeing the status as awaiting the form, there's still a process to go through before you get to that agreement.
There is a process, but I would say that it is a short process. The officers do commit to that process, and we do have good engagement with the officers around those forms. The report that you're referring to was issued in final just before Christmas, so it is correct that it was awaiting the management response form at the end of December. But the agreed date for that to come back is approaching in the next couple of weeks. Taking account of the Christmas period, to give officers the opportunity to properly consider the recommendations. So we are awaiting that form at the end of January. So we will work then with the council to look at that form and give that view ready for the next Governance and Audit Committee.
Great, thanks for that.
Thank you, Gareth. Any other queries, comments? No. Well, thank you very much indeed, Gareth. We move on then to the item 6 on the agenda, Newtown High School Internal Audit Report. Ian Halstead, you Assistant Director of SWAP, are you presenting this one?
I am indeed, John, if that's okay.
Very much it's okay. And I'd like to welcome, as I said a little earlier, I believe Rob Harper, who's Chair of the Governors of Newtown High School, and Natalie Havard, Head Teacher of that school. Welcome to the meeting. And also here to answer for the authority, Dr. Richard Jones, Director of Education, and Sarah Quibble, Service Manager for Education in Powys.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors.
Sorry, I didn't. Somebody said
Sorry,
something.
yeah, I was just saying thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. Rob Harper, Chair of Governors, Newtown High School.
Thank you very much indeed. Ian, fire away.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just briefly run through the report. We undertook the audit in the middle of the summer and produced a report on Newtown High in July 2025. The main findings or the main areas of concern were around governance. We found that governors played an active role, but there were improvement areas that were required in the approval of some statutory and non-statutory policies, and that included business continuity. The governing body had a number of unfilled posts and vacancies, and some governors had not completed their mandatory training. The second area we picked up on was around procurement, and that we found that there was adequate financial control in that area, but again, some areas of improvement, which included purchase ordering, and that was primarily around ordering prior to receiving the goods and a delay in the payment of invoices. The third area, and probably the most significant area, was around the budgeting and the finance. At the time of the audit, the school was operating an unlicensed deficit budget. There were no formalised budget recovery plans, and at the time there was a projected cumulative deficit that was 740,000 at the end of 25-26, and that was projected to be in the region of 1.7 million by 28-29. The final area we picked up as concern was around the voluntary funds. Voluntary funds should be audited every year, and they hadn't in Newtown for 5 years. I think this is particularly important given the high level of the funds, which was £102,000, which was high. So they weren't complying with the scheme of finance for schools, and I think there's increased risk of error and fraud there. On a positive front, the school had a clean bill of health in terms of ICT delivery and health and safety, and also workforce. So overall, we had 14 actions, and there was an opinion of limited assurance. I'm sure that the school will provide an update on where we are in terms of the delivery of those remedial actions, and I'll happily take questions, but for now, I'll hand it back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Ian. I note that the report was actually dated July 2025, and I'm sure that considerable progress has been made on those recommendations. Would somebody like to run us through what progress has been made from the school, please?
May I come in, Chair? It's Natalie Havard, head teacher.
Yes, please do.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to you.
Thank you. So if I just go over some of the actions that were outstanding, some of them were addressed. They were updated on the swap report, I believe. The first one that I'd like to address is the school ensure that a complete full complement of governors is in place. So we had 3 parent governor vacancies, 2 have been confirmed and 1 is to be confirmed. We had a community governor vacancy, and that post has been filled. And we also have a local authority vacancy for a councillor. So hopefully governor support and the local authority will support us in that appointment. We then have more recently 1 teacher vacancy for the Newtown campus, and that was available from January of this year. So we are waiting for the closing date to lapse on that, but we have had interest from 1 party there. So we're hoping that has been addressed, and that has been communicated to Sarah Quibal as well. And that's been marked as completed, I believe, on the most recent update of the swap audit. The other points that were raised by the colleague previously was around training and the business continuity plan and the disaster recovery plan, and that is something that we continue to work on with the governing body, and that we are focusing on. There's also other things in terms of security for both campuses there that we need to consider, and again we are working with the local authority on those matters as well. The second point I believe that was raised was around the school budget and us remaining fiscally responsible as a school and as a governing body. We submitted a budget recovery plan that was accepted on the 14th of November 2025. We also had a warning notice from the local authority, and we attended a meeting with the Director of Education and the 151 officer, Jane Thomas, on the 26th of November. And we have 2 consultations in place, one for support staff and one for teaching staff, which will hopefully help us to address the deficit budget and the unlicensed budget that we are operating. So they are running concurrently in some instances, but obviously the timeframes for the support staff will be shorter than the teaching staff. But again, this is to ensure that we continue to operate in a licensed budget and show that we are doing everything we can to support the local authority in that. We are considering as well further restructuring within leadership and with support from the local authority and our school improvement advisor. And we are willing to consider further management of change as necessary as we respond and reflect on the ongoing issues with pupil numbers. I also want to address the other point in terms of the school fund. Obviously, we do take this very seriously. We have been, again, working in collaboration with the business manager of the school, and we have tried to kind of get someone to do this for us free of charge because of the budget constraints and things like that. And we have had the interim where we've had acting head teachers that were in post previously. So there's been a bit of a delay there, but we do acknowledge that this needs to happen. It needs to be rectified. And we are in consultation with a local accountancy company, and we are hoping to pass on funds. We've got 2 years worth of funds that can be reviewed, but we are aware, obviously, the time of year that we find ourselves in now, coming up to close of play in terms of a tax year, that there may be some further delay, but we are in a better position than we were, and hopefully you can have some assurity that we are taking this seriously and we are working with a local accountant to try and get this done.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Peat, I see your hand has been up for a while. I'm tempted to go to officers for a response on what's just been said. Can we hold off your question for a moment?
Yes, that's fine, Chair, no problem.
Okay, that's fine. Who is going to speak on behalf of the authority then? Sarah, is it?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to come in, Chair. There were a range of actions, and as the head teacher Natalie outlined, all have been completed with the exception of the one which was the final one that she addressed, which was the unofficial funds. But we're working closely together, and as she said, with a local firm to get those moved forward at pace now. Other than that, all other actions have been completed, and that includes the one around the budget recovery plan, and she gave the details of the timings around that as well.
Okay, many thanks to you. Councillor Peat.
Thank you, Chair. I guess to start really before we get into the detail is like you, I'm sort of disappointed that this is a historic report dated the 8th of July. So I do question why it's taken so long to get to us. I had hoped and assumed that things had moved on with the actions that are in there, especially when some had action dates of July, August, and September. So very pleased to get that assurance from both Natalie and Sarah. So thank you for that. I just wonder, though, why we as a committee don't get that updated in an updated report rather than having to wait this long for it. I'm pleased as well as the head teacher here today to see the chair of governors, and I hope that was as a result of their pre-meet. So very pleased to see that. One thing, I don't believe this report has been seen by the governors yet. So again, slightly disappointed why that happens, and it's placed in the public domain before the governors have seen it. It allows, as some of us have probably watched online with the County Times, it gives them an opportunity to pick up a story and perhaps paint a picture that is out of date and is no longer up to date. And I guess I just wanted to explore the lack of engagement with the governors so far over this report, especially when the report starts, one of its opening comments are the governors are actively involved in school management and praises the governors for doing that. So surely a timely reaction to these issues raised is paramount, and to do that, in my opinion, we should involve the governors at a much earlier stage than this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Pete. Councillor Pete. Anybody want to comment?
May I comment, please, Chair?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Peter, for your comments there. I think much of the report has been shared with the governing body in terms of agendaed items and the warning letter that we received from the local authority. We do continue to work closely with the governing body, and in terms of making sure that these are tabled, as you said, appropriately with the correct documentation, I take that as a point of learning. But I can assure you that every item, every recommendation within that report has been shared with the governing body. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor James Gibson-Watt, as portfolio holder, do you have any particular comment to make?
Not specifically. I think the report, I mean, this has been pointed out, the report was done some time ago, and the school has taken the appropriate action to address the issues that have been raised. I suppose, the issue of most concern for me, and no doubt all members of council, and no doubt for the governing body and the head teacher, is the deficit position. And but again, the head teacher has indicated that the recovery plan is in place. The authority has approved it, and we hope that it will do the trick in starting to reduce the deficit. So no, other than that, that's fine. And I think the explanations that have been given are very good and comprehensive. And I thank the head in particular for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor Graham, you have a question.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the officers and to the head for updating us on the situation. Councillor Peter said a lot of what I wanted to say on the matter of timing, so I'll leave that one go. But the one area of concern for me in particular is clearly, as James mentions, the finance. We have had an assurance from the head, who I understand is the new head, so we congratulate her on her appointment. But could we have some specifics here? The figures that we've been given, or we haven't been given any new figures. The figures that are on here are quite alarming, clearly, as recognised by the school and by the governing body. But could we have some indication of what those new figures are going to be? Because clearly the figures that are on there are the ones that are going to appear in the press this weekend. So it would be really good for members of this committee to know what the deficit is now going to. We're now saying what the deficit will be in the next over a 3-year period, please.
Anybody can come in on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So in terms of when we have implemented the budget recovery plan, it still leaves us in a position of a deficit. We are pleased that there is things being brought to the table at cabinet level in terms of the new funding formula, and we hope that that will add some further support to the school. So what you're talking about in terms of a 1.7 million deficit by 28-29, that is with the application of the budget recovery plan, to be very clear and to offer some clarity. It isn't a position any of us want to be in, but we're hoping with the new funding formula and with updates in ALM funding as well, that we're also looking at, that we will be able to bring ourselves more in line with what we have in our delegated budget. But unfortunately, I can't offer any further assurance than that at this moment in time, but we continue to work hard. We continue to work with the local authority And in some instances, we are kind of backpedaling from previous deficits and carry forward that we've had. And that's not to point the finger at anyone in any position from the past or anything historic. We are where we are. We are doing what we can. And I think it's worth noting at this point as well that whilst we are operating in a deficit budget, we have certainly continued to make improvements in terms of our school processes, our standards. And I think it's worth noting, Chair, if I may, that we did come out of vesting review in December 2025, and that was with us the previous year reducing by 5.2 members of staff in terms of full-time equivalents. So whilst we've made reductions, we've prided ourselves on continuing to improve our standards. It is a challenge. It isn't what anyone wants to be, you know, in terms of a head or a new head, but it is the position that we find ourselves in. So, you know, I thank the local authority and you as councillors for your support, but we're going to need this moving forward as well.
Chair, can I just come back on that? Could I just come back?
Yes, of course you can.
Yeah, thank you for that, Natalie. But it doesn't really answer the question.
No,
can we have some specifics, for instance, on what the deficit, what you're saying the deficit will now be for the next financial year, for instance?
Yeah, so from if we hadn't implemented any budget recovery, our deficit in terms of our cumulative deficit would be 1.3 million. With the changes that we're proposing for financial year 26-27, it would be 1.1 million. For financial year 27-28, if we hadn't implemented any changes through management of change, it would have been 2.1 million. But there's more of a saving for financial year 27-28 as the deficit would reduce by nearly 600k to 1.5 million. So again, the figures are not brilliant, and you know, I can't make them any different than they are, unfortunately, but you can see we are having an impact on reducing that deficit. So from 2026, just to summarise, 2026 financial deficit is reduced by 200k. The following year, it's reduced by approximately 600k, and then the deficit then reduces as we move through the other years as well. I'm sorry I can't share my screen. I'm joining on my phone this afternoon. I can't seem to get in Zoom, so I do apologise for that. But that's where we are. Year on year, we are making a dent in the deficit that we had by making these changes. But, you know, I'm a realist. I'm fully aware that potentially we will need to make more changes and more reductions as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's you must appreciate that we do need to know those figures as a committee.
Of course, yeah, of course, I understand that.
Thank you, and thanks for the hard work you're doing to help that.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Graham. Sarah, do you want to comment on that before I bring Councillor Peat back in?
My comment was around just a couple of points around the timing, but I'm happy to leave them if you wanted to continue momentum.
I'd be grateful. Thank you. Councillor Peat.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just had two questions, if I may. I just wanted to tease out a little bit more, maybe my lack of understanding around Councillor Graham's point, because obviously the financial side of things is the main issue here. The first question, Natalie, was I think you talked about 200 saving next year and then 600, so 800 in total. When I'm looking at this report, the cumulative deficit for 27-28 is 1.7 million. So with those savings you've got so far, does that mean that figure is now revised to 0.9 million?
Can you say that again? I'm really sorry, Councillor.
No, that's all right. Yeah, you said there was £200,000 worth of savings next year.
Yeah.
600 in the year after, so 800,000 in total.
Yeah.
The report that I'm looking at shows a cumulative deficit at the end of 27-28 of 1.7 million.
Yeah.
So with that 800 savings, is that figure now down to 0.9 million, or have I misunderstood?
No, it's not. It's down to 1.5, so it's a 200k saving and the figures that you've got. So and I think this is, you know, we feel that we are doing a lot to address this, but we still find ourselves in very much a huge deficit. And I don't think, you know, there's any way that we can kind of get away from that. We are looking at further savings on the John Beddoes campus by amalgamating some classes. We've had a consultant that we've spoken to. And we've also got to measure kind of learner entitlement, encouraging pupils to remain within East Radnorshire and making sure that we have a viable provision here with the costs that we're making, the cuts that we're making, sorry. So it's very much balancing, it's very much a balancing act in terms of what we do and what we can do. But there is, you know, certainly there is effort being made, and I hope that's coming across quite clear. But in terms of, you know, what we are saying, that deficit is, and I think probably the figures that you've got, the figures that we've got in terms of our current position by the end of financial year 27-28 would be 2.1 million. So we're reducing that to 1.5. So there is that 600,000 saving, but some of the figures that you had in July potentially are outdated as well. It's probably worth raising that for absolute clarity.
Okay, yeah, if I may, Chair, sorry. Yeah, so I get, yeah, so thank you for that, Natalie. As I say, none of it's meant to be a
No,
criticism as such. So
no, we're all here
appreciate,
for the same reason,
yeah,
aren't we? So no, it's
absolutely. So I
absolutely
really
fine.
appreciate the effort that you, the governors, and everyone's putting into this, and I also appreciate the position you've inherited. So, but I guess that may be going back a little bit to where we started with getting an out-of-date report. And if
Absolutely.
I just may on that, Chair, could I just ask Ian to just explain to me, for my understanding, why the report's dated July and we're getting it in January, please?
Certainly, Councillor Pete. The report was produced in July. It was sent obviously to the school. Obviously, we had the school holidays, which caused a slight delay in that. But then the report was due to come in November. But at the request of the school service and of the school, we deferred it back. I know that they've had some uncertainty around personnel there in key positions. And so for that position, they asked for it to be deferred to this meeting. So that's why it's later.
Councillor Pete.
Sorry, press the wrong button there. Thanks, Jake. Yeah, thanks, Ian. So I just wonder in those circumstances, two things, I guess, Ian, is number one, is there a form of perhaps alert or communication to audit and governance to just give us the heads up on it? Apologies if you did and I missed it. And secondly, is there, once you've been through that process, and obviously there's some updates, could we potentially have an addendum to this report with the updated position?
Certainly, I can't recall whether I don't think I did make you aware of the situation, so I will bear that in mind for the future.
Yeah.
In terms of the update, I think personally, I think that the audit that we do it's a snapshot in time, and we will go back later on and do some tracking to see where we are in terms of the remedial action. But I honestly think that for these meetings, it should be the service themselves, the responsible body that should bring a report to this committee that shows where they are in terms of the delivery of those papers, and they can give you the most up-to-date one. So I feel, that at some point we will revisit the area and do a follow-up. But for the purpose of these meetings, I feel it should be the service and the responsible body that should come with a written paper and should update you with exactly the information you require.
Thank you, Ian. Sarah Quibble, is it? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
No, it's absolutely fine. It's Quibble, but I was just going to follow up on Ian's.
Committee meets less frequently than perhaps other groups as well. So to have an update here, committee is looking for assurance that things are being taken forward. So I think the timing of the report may be a little bit later than you'd anticipate, but the importance for committee in terms of your role is to get the assurance that you've been provided today by the head teacher, that progress has already been made. So I think in terms of the delay. Yes, it's delayed getting to committee, but actions have actually been delivered in a very timely fashion.
Yeah, and I take your point, Jane. I think the main concern of the councillors is that the schools get a unnecessarily bad press because the progress made since the photograph was taken, as it were, is not sufficiently recognised in the papers that go public. Anyway, anybody else got any comment to make? We'll move on then. Governance and Audits Committee Skills Self-Assessment Report. Ian, I gather you're going to present that to us as well.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Item 7, SWAP. In case you don't know about SWAP are a collection of 28 local authorities of internal audit services at different local authorities. Then we work as a partnership. As part of our added value work, we undertook to take some surveys across all of our partners around the knowledge and capability of the audit committee in certain key areas. So that was part of our added value work. The survey was anonymous, and 2/3 of members responded to the survey. In terms of the survey itself, it highlighted a number of strengths, and that survey then populates the report that you can see in item 7. The report highlighted a number of strengths, that there was a good understanding of local authority structure, that there was a strong financial awareness, that it had a solid knowledge of internal and external audit, that they had the confidence to focus on the key areas and were able to question effectively. But there were also some areas of developments that could be improved, and that was around the familiarity of the governance frameworks like SOLIS, an understanding of the internal audit standards, some enhanced knowledge around fraud risks and fraud. But overall, the survey indicated that broadly there was a very sound level of capability within the committee. So this report is for information. It can be used to inform future training and development plans. Again, I'll take any questions, but I'll hand back to you now, Chair.
Thank you. The one thing that I noted, of course, is that the committee structure has changed significantly since the report was issued, and it may already be out of date. And in fact, it's going to be something that's rather difficult because the committee changes its membership quite frequently and is liable to do so again in May. Thank you very much. Any comments, anybody? No, I don't see any. Oh, yes, I do. Ian, you want to come back?
Yeah, just to say, Chair, carrying out this work, it doesn't take a lot of time, particularly. And if you want us to refresh come new committee, then we'll be more than happy to do so.
I personally think it would be worthwhile, particularly to highlight any particular training needs that are required. I'm just wondering, though, if it's better to do that after the council is reformed, so that we don't have to do yet another repeat. I'm happy to take other people's views on the matter. Perhaps you, I, and the chair can get together on this then, Ian.
Absolutely, yes. I'm
Yeah,
more than
good
happy to
idea.
do it at the time that suits the authority itself.
Yeah.
So more than happy to do that.
Okay. We'll touch again on it perhaps a bit later when we reflect on the meeting later on. Thank you very much indeed, Ian. I'll move on now then to agenda item 8, 25-26 Statements of Accounts Planning. Murray, are you going to present this, or Jane?
I'm here if you want me to present it, Murray.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. So yes, Dan will take us through this if that's okay.
Sorry,
Chair.
I didn't realise you were there, Dan.
Yeah, no, snuck up quietly, I'm afraid. Good afternoon, everyone. Within their Audit of Accounts report in October 2025, Audit Wales highlighted the dates for the publishing of the 25-26 accounts would be brought forward a month to the end of September. It was also known that the council will be implementing a new financial system that will be operational from the 1st of April 2026. The current financial system is due to become unavailable for use by the council from the 19th of July. To assist the audit process, we have had engagement with Audit Wales to determine what resource they have to commit to an early interim testing. As we are aware, there are backlogs across Wales. They've indicated that they can allocate resource, and we need to work with them to coordinate the supply of information at the times this resource is available. They're already asking for information around systems and process, and some analytical review work has also been asked for. Sorry, excuse me. Transactions listings relating to periods 1 to 6 are also due to be uploaded this week, so Audit can view them and take samples and then provide them to us for evidence. Each year, closing timetable is produced, and we've produced a small snapshot here. But over the last few years, the audit draft accounts have had to be provided by the 30th of June. The aim this year is to reduce that deadline by 2 weeks, so Audit will get the draft set of accounts on the 15th of June. This will give them an additional couple of weeks to have a look through the accounts and pick up any additional samples they won't already have tested within their interim testing. The management team will review the timetable a bit more closely in the coming weeks. Now budget pressures have been slightly diminished, and work with administrators to smooth the transition to the new system. The closure of accounts is an agenda item for all the weekly accountants catch-up meetings, where progress will be monitored from here on in. So that's a brief update, but I just wonder if there's anything more you want me to add at this stage. I note there was a pre-meet question around whether an update should come to the March committee. It's not currently on the work programme, and we'd be happy to facilitate that.
I think it might be very useful, yes. Can I ask how the transition is going onto the new system? You've been purging the ledgers now for some time, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, so I suppose initially there was key user training for within workshops provided by the provider, and testing of that is ongoing. So there's been a couple of tranches of testing with various scenarios put through the new system. We're currently into the third tranche now, where the previous tranches have been wiped, and then we go through the testing process again, and anything that is causing us difficulty has been provided back to the provider. As far as migration goes, that will be ongoing until March, when the information is migrated into the new system. So there's still work to do, basically.
Have any particular problems emerged from your study so far that required a bit extra effort or something?
Not as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure if...
Good. Excellent.
Right.
Mari's got her hand up. Perhaps she knows.
No, I was just going to say, we've got very regular project management boards on this. Obviously, it's a huge project for us within the finance department. So we have regular updates from both the supplier of the new system and the project manager that's leading the project for us. So no concerns at this stage. I think the testing is key, really, and as Dan indicated, there's several rounds of testing that continue in different parts of the system that are tested as well. So I think just making sure that we're getting that system testing done in a timely fashion is the important thing, and that is on track now, I believe.
Thank you very much for that assurance. Anybody else got any comments, please? No? Ah, yes. Emma.
Yes, sorry, Chair, I was a bit slow then. I just wanted to reiterate really everything that Dan has produced in the report, to say that, we are working closely with the authority, and we appreciate the efforts that they're going to make sure that we're informed, because obviously that's going to help us meet that. Well, help us and help them meet the earlier deadline, which has been set. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Fine. From your point of view, have you got the resource you need to meet this new deadline?
Yeah, as far as we're aware at the moment, everything seems to be on track. And as Dan said, we've been able, or we are able to go in and do that early work, which is something we haven't been able to do really since COVID, because other authorities may be behind, with the work providing us with the accounts, etc., which again is in Dan's report. But as it at the moment, yeah, we're okay as long as the transactions come in. We'll be able to do that.
Okay, fine. One last request. Any further comments? No, we can move on then. Annual whistleblowing, item 9, 2023-24. And well, I suppose we'll take the other item 10 with it, 24-25 annual whistleblowing reports. Who's presenting? Is it Debbie?
Thank you, Chair. Yes.
Thank you.
As you suggested, and if you're happy, I propose dealing with items 9 and 10 together.
Sure.
Obviously, both reports are what are required under Section 22 of the Constitution. The annual report needs to come to the Governance and Audit Committee. Chair, you'll be aware that we had a working group set up earlier last year who looked at the regime and the information that was provided previously to Governance and Audit and how we could improve on that. So I've amended the chart this year, Chair, which includes more than just the number and types of complaints that we receive as a local authority. Dealing firstly with 23-24 figures, you'll see we have 3 whistleblowing complaints. I should just say, Chair, at the outset, you'll appreciate that the information that we provide to the Governance and Audit Committee will always be relatively limited for the reasons of confidentiality to potential whistleblowers and anyone involved in that process. Therefore, the information provided is always limited, but I have extended the scope of the information that we have provided previously. Therefore, we've explained what processes now that the potential complaints or concerns were. Some are not always whistleblowing. They come in as potentially whistleblowing, but they proceed under different processes. Therefore, the information that we've provided now includes that information. It includes whether or not they're investigated and any outcomes. So that's included in the 23-24. In the 24-25, Chair, I've added slightly more detail just so that you can see the service areas in terms of those complaints. I think you'll see there is no real theme. I know the working group were conscious of whether there are any themes and learning points that could come from that. I don't think we could say that from the information that I've provided to the committee. I should just update that from the 4 that proceeded as whistleblowing in 24-25, 3 have now concluded and none of those were upheld. So there is just one that's currently outstanding, which was the complaint that came in March of last year, which I believe is quite reasonable in all the circumstances, Chair. So that information has been updated and there's more detail provided to the committee, which I hope is sufficient. I think, and I recall from the working group, that there was a suggestion that we could provide more assurance around any learning points from those investigations. Clearly, Chair, you'll appreciate that to give more detail, it's likely to identify the whistleblower, so we have to be very cautious about that. However, if during those investigations there are learning points or actions that are proposed or recommended by the investigator, very often they're external investigators, quite happy to provide another column into this chart that says any action points if recommended and that we have, and give you the reassurance that those have been actioned accordingly. I'm more than happy to provide that further assurance, Chair, if the committee thinks that would be helpful. But I hope the committee appreciates that this is quite significantly more information than that was provided previously, and I hope that gives the reassurance around they're not upheld and that we are processing the policy and the regime accordingly, and it's working well in Powys. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you indeed, Debbie. Councillor Peat, you were chair of our working group, and your hand is up.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, and thank you, Debbie, for the introductions around the report. Yeah, firstly, if I may, Chair, I would just like to add my continuing thanks to the officers for the work they do on this,
Indeed.
and for adding the extra detail that we now see before us today compared to previous reports we've seen. So, for example, it's good to see that we may have had 5 complaints in, but to understand that one might only actually be whistleblowing, and to see where the others have actually, which process they've been dealt under. Um, I'd also just like to acknowledge that Debbie has been very helpful in understanding throughout the whole process, going back to the working group on this. So I would just like to formally record my thanks to her for that. There is just a couple of bits there, if I may, Chair, and I do think Debbie actually touched on them as well. Um, I do understand the issues around confidentiality and the limitations that imposes on us. And the working group, there was a phrase they used. They did just want to see more than just a table of numbers, and I think this is working towards that now. And the bit we were also after was if there were any learning points. So does a particular control need to be updated? Does a particular policy need to be tweaked? Does part of the process need to be tweaked? So, I would like to perhaps see, as Debbie was alluding to there, an extra column added to give us those learning points, and assurances that those actions have been followed through with improvements in place. And I guess indeed, in some cases, the good news may be that our process worked correctly, controls are effective, and there's no need to change anything. And I think that would also be assuring to this committee to actually see that as well. So I would support Debbie's suggestion there, and thank her for looking to add an extra column to expand on that detail. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Pete. I agree. Any further comments, please? No. Thank you very much indeed, Debbie. Thank you. A nice piece of work. Moving on then, item 11, working groups. We have 2 current working groups. The first one chaired with Gareth Hall. Gareth, would you like to comment on capital?
Yes, we've got the next meeting in just over a week's time.
I think it's been postponed, Gareth.
Oh.
I think it's now in February. We've got a new date.
Say no more.
It's on a email came through today, I think.
Oh, but I'm not up to speed.
Yeah. Okay. And internal audit, that is under the guidance of our chair, who's also away. But I believe there's a meeting of that next month as well. So we look forward to those meetings. Other than that, nothing else to say. Anybody? No. Right, we move on then to item 12, Q2 risk management report. Is it Bets? Are you going to present this?
I can, Chair, unless Mary would prefer. I'm happy to.
I don't know. Mary.
I'm happy for Bets to take you through the detail of the reports, if that's okay, Bets. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously, I'm not going to go through the report verbatim, but just give you a quick overview. So the purpose of this report is to set out the Council's latest position on managing its key non-confidential risks. We have a paper later on which details the 2 confidential risks. All of the non-confidential risks contained in the Strategic Risk Register. So if I move on to section 3.2, you'll see as at the end of Q2, which is 2025-26, so just to reiterate that, it's the end of Q2, there are 12 non-confidential risks on the risk register, and you can see the full details of those risks in Appendix A with the full details of the mitigating actions and the controls and the progress reviews to date. Appendix B shows you visually on a heat map which presents the results, which in essence shows you that there are 8 residual risks in the top right quadrant. And just to finally say, during March 2025, as you know, we had a audit. Wales came in and did an audit on risk management. The final report and response went to yourselves on October the 23rd. Of course, this report is a little bit, and preempt your questions, due to the delay of this report being ready for end of November and no governance and audit in December, etc. So it is a little bit delayed coming to you guys now in January. Finally, then, to say the recommendations that the portfolio holder adopts a report and takes forward to Cabinet. It is recommended that Cabinet notes the current strategic risk register and is satisfied with the progress against the mitigating actions for Q2, and there are no suggested communications to go forward with this report.
Comments, anybody? Councillor Pete.
Just a quick one for clarity, Chair. I think I've got it, but sometimes I just need to catch up. Thank you on that, Bets. I probably should know the answer about Q2. Does Q2, is that as at the end of November?
I have to say this like this, so apologies. April, May, June, July, August, September. So it's as of the end of September.
Okay. Okay. So again, I was understanding a bit what you were saying about the delay in the report coming to committee, but that may also answer my other question. If it's as at the end of September, I guess here we are in January. I was looking at some of the dates of the last reviews, which are like September and October, but I guess in reality, they've moved on.
Yes, apologies for the confusion, but it's due to the delay in committees and how we get the report to you. But the services would have roughly about 2 to 3 weeks after the deadline to provide their progress report. So that would mean that a lot of the dates would be October, but that would be kind of like hot off the press after the deadline.
Yeah. Thanks, Bets. Thanks, Jeff.
That's fine. Any other comments? Murray, do you want to add anything?
Just to say, as we've just been talking about, really, obviously we've just got to the end of Q3, so services are busy updating their risks and their actions for the position at the end of December as we speak, and that report will be coming to you I'm not sure if it's due on the 6th of March. That may not quite fit with the timings of the other governance part of it, but it will come to committee in due course as well.
Good. Okay, many thanks. One last time, any further comments? No? Right, next thing is to move into confidential session, and we need a proposal to do that, I believe. Councillor Chris proposes. Second. Councillor Danny, thank you both. So we'll be moving into confidential session. I don't think we have to do anything, do we?
Chair, could we just have a show of hands from committee members?
Oh, yes.
Just to show that we're all in agreement. Thank you. I'll move us into confidential now. I'll let you know when we're in confidential.
We don't have to do anything, do we?
I will do it for you now.